All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I'm gonna tell you about this one here, man. This one's about, the Penpal system, how the Penpal system work in the prison. I like to give you all the real, the raw, and the uncut. So we're gonna talk about how I met this chick out west, through a pen pal site. Everything was good. I ain't had too much complaints, but just sit back and enjoy the ride, man. Alright. All right, check it out. I'm in Atwater, California, right? And a cop got killed. Got bodied. Cop got bodied. They held him down, hit him up like a couple of times. Maybe 36 times, something like that. Took his chest cavity out. The regular in the joint. But now they got us locked down for 6 months. I told you all about that. When they had us locked down for 6 months, I didn't have water touch my body for 6 months. Now, I get on the pen pal site and I get a letter from a girl. I'm out in Atwater. She lived like in where was that? Let me see what they call it. Like I forgot what they called that little place. It'll come back to me. But it was not far from there. Fresno. She was from Fresno. I met a chick from Fresno. Now, she write me a letter and, she said that she liked my profile and she really dug it because I put it straight up. I kept it 100 that I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was just looking for somebody to, share my dreams, hopes, and aspirations with as far as upon my release. And I was doing life plus 20. So, I'm not trying to get in no committed relationship is the way I broke the ad down. Everybody else put in their ad, they looking for a wife, they looking for somebody to marry, they looking for their significant other. So she told me she liked me because I didn't play those games. My ad was 100% that I was just looking for somebody to communicate with. So she starts writing me, and then she's writing me, the best part of prison, the best part, and everybody listening to this will agree with this. And I don't never say everyone, but I have to say it in this point. Everyone looks forward to mail call. I mean, mail call is so unique, pun intended. Mail call is so unique because they call the mail, right? They bring in the mail in this big, crocus bag, as we call it in Jamaica, like a potato sack. And some days it be real fat where it looks pregnant and everybody runs up to the booth, because the police getting ready to call out the name. So they got a little circle up there and the police stands in the circle. He dumps the mail on the thing and he calls out the names. So everyone is sitting there waiting on them to call their name. And it's crazy because when you're standing up there, you see everybody waiting on their names, and as they call it, of course, yeah, I mean, not to brag, but keep it 100, because, yeah, I am the cockiest kingpin, They might call me 10 times, so they might be like, Unique, what I mean? And, they'd be like, Rivera, Jones, Unique, Johnson, Williams, Unique, and I'm getting all this mail, I'm standing there, I'm collecting, and everybody's looking at me like, damn, they hating, like, this nigga getting all the mail. You know what I mean? I hope I got something in there. So everybody's standing around. So I get a big stack of mail from my little pen pals that I met, on the pen pal site, and some people that were still hanging on, because when I first got locked up, I had over 100 women. No exaggeration. And as time went on, they trickled off. They trickled off. I mean, when you first get locked up, everybody's there for you because they expect you to come right out. But as a year go by, 2 years go by, 5 years go by, they start to trickle off and realize that, you're not coming in. They're tired of asking when you coming in. You saying that I'm waiting on appeal and this and that. But anyway, back to this chick, because, I like to ride. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Let me get in my zone now. So now, This girl is writing me letters, and the letters is real hype the way she's writing it. She sounds like a roundaway girl, like a fly girl. So she starts sending me pictures of all these kids in the neighborhood that she said she adopted. She's white. Her family had a house from in the 20s in a black neighborhood that was all white, but now it done trickled over, over in Fresno where it's, predominantly black. So it's a bunch of little black kids she's sending me pictures of. Little boys, little girls, they playing, they riding bikes, they doing this. She showed me the outside. She never sent me a picture of herself, but she always sent me pictures of these kids and, the kids' mothers that she adopted and this and that. So she seems like a caring person. So me and her right then, I'm feeling her. So I talk her into come visit me, because Fresno is only like, maybe 30 minutes from Atwater, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, she sends me, the visiting form back. We get the visiting form. I go out there on the visit, and I'm all hype. I got my uniform pressed up, I got my dreads done, I'm feeling like $1,000,000. So I go out there on the visit, and I'm sitting down, and I'm waiting her to come in. And as she's coming in, every girl that comes in that looks good, I'm praying, I hope that's her, I hope that's her, I hope that's her, I hope that's her, And then the girl finally comes in. And, I'm not being disrespectful, just keeping it 100. This girl was a white girl. She was built like a barrel. You know what I mean? I mean, literally, she was built like like a female Michelin man. Those joints that got the barrels all around them. And that's how she comes in, and her head was literally like this big. She looked at like a, how would I say it? She looked at like an incest baby. Now, y'all gonna take this disrespectful, but I'm just keeping it 100. So you trolls and rat bastards and flip flop wearing and public cowards, gunshots to you for not understanding that I'm keeping it 100. This girl looked like an incest baby. So when she comes out there and I look at her, and she walks over to my table, I damn near threw up. That's how bad she looked. You know what I mean? But then I had to get in my prison mode. And I knew that, right now, it wasn't about what she looked like. It was about what she could do for me. That's how we have to condition our mentality in prison. So you youngins, don't go to prison because you don't want to have to subject yourself to what I subject myself to. I had to sit across from this girl. She comes in and she takes a little bag and she gives it to the police in the booth, little pouch. So I'm sitting down there and I'm talking to her, and as I'm talking to her, big ass head, big ass head. As I'm talking to her, she starts drooling all out the mouth. You know what I mean? I'm talking to her, she's just sitting there, she's listening to me, she's hanging on to every word, and she's like, and I see slob coming down her mouth, you know what I mean? So you know me, I'm from the hood, I speak my mind. I said, damn, you gonna wipe your mouth or what? You know what I mean? So I reach over, I give her a napkin. She go, oh, my bag. And she wipes her mouth. So now, while I'm sitting there trying to hold conversation, but I'm trying to look around at all the other pretty girls that came in, before she came in, that I prayed was her, but it wasn't her, So I'm sitting there trying not to look at her, and she was short, like I said, built like the Michelin man, and, her feet barely touched the ground, touching the, sitting in a chair, and her little feet was just dangling off the chair, and she built like a barrel, and I'm looking at her, and she's white, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep it 100, that's what I do. Now, when I got locked up, when I was on the street, I used to, like I said, throw a little 20, 40 keys in the trunk, in the stash, and I hit the highway and, go different states and, I do my thing. So wherever I went to black neighborhoods to sell the drugs, and I apologize to the black community for poisoning it. But I go to the black community, so it's no white girls around. So I never had sex with a white girl, you know what I mean? And I was never really interested in white girls because back when I was on the street, and y'all remember, we talking about in the 90s, we talking about before, the military and, the different immigrants came in to, mix with the different Americans to make, beautiful babies with beautiful complexions. Because when I was on the street, if you was light skinned, they considered you as beautiful. Just being light skinned, no matter what you look like, if you was light skinned female, you looked beautiful. If you was a light skinned guy, you was handsome. That's how they looked at it in America back then. So we didn't have the mixed races that they have now, where I come out 26 years later and I see so many, not to be disrespectful, but keeping it 100, mixed breed people. You know what I mean? I mean, nice complexions, long hair, because all they had was weaves back then, and I hated weaves. If it wasn't natural, I'd rather a girl have an afro about a minute long, you know what I mean, than somebody with a whole neck and back full of weave, because, I hate it, but I put my hands in their hair, while I'm hitting it from the back, and, and I'm feeling the tracks. I hated tracks. It was a big turnoff, So, and me, myself, when I'm getting oral fellatio, I like to, grab them by the head and pull them down and, choke them out and, get buck wild and throw my leg up all over her neck, and I'm carrying on, and it was a beautiful feeling. But when you felt those tracks, it was like, ew, But anyway, so she's sitting there, and I never been with a white woman, because anywhere I went out of town with my little drugs, I went in black neighborhoods. They might have one or two white girls that hung with the black girls, but the white girls they had, the most they had was big breasts and no ass. You know what I mean? Pamela Anderson made the big breasts, famous. So you out and you see a black girl, she's built like a pear, and then you see a white girl that's built like a carrot. You know what I mean? That's deformed. That was the breasts. So that never turned me on. So I wasn't used to being around white people. So I'm sitting in the visiting hall, and this white girl's sitting across from me, and I'm thinking that they're looking at me and staring because I'm there with a white girl. But come to find out, it wasn't that she was white, it's that she was an ugly mother. I mean, straight up. Let me watch my mouth. She was so ugly, you know what I mean? And I'm just keeping it 100, And they say God don't make ugly, and you know what I mean? But, in this case, God screwed up. You know what I mean? God really screwed up. He made this ugly white woman. Big ass head drooling all out the mouth. There's little ass eyes in her head. But I had to sit across from her, but she was writing me every day, sometimes 3 and 4 letters a day. So they calling my name crazy at mail call. And I told you how important mail call is. So while they calling my name at mail call, and I'm getting all this mail and feel good, but then now I had to go on a visit to go see this mongoloid, this incest baby. And I'm sitting across from her, and everyone is staring at me. I'm thinking it's because of her complexion, but it was because she was that ugly and busted, and I was looking that good and fly with my dreads all, curled up, and I'm feeling like $1,000,000, So everybody's looking at me, and I'm feeling a little embarrassed. But this girl was sending me money 3, 4 times a week, 200, 300, 100, you know what I mean? 50 here, 200 there, 500 there. So now I got to stay in the role. The letters was good to read the letters to get into my mentor when she was writing, because she was hip, she was hype. She grew up around the black people. She talked like she was black. So the letters didn't fit her mongoloid description, right? So I'm out there on a visit, and I got to tolerate this. So now, when the visit is over, everybody give their people an embrace, because you're allowed to give a kiss in and a kiss out. Me was the first visit. I got to wait and have to give her a kiss. I just gave her a hug. Now it's time to leave. And I know she's sitting there thinking, is this nigga going to kiss me? I hope this fly, cocky kingpin kisses me. But I'm busy worrying about what everyone else is thinking. Yeah, I'm shallow like that, at the moment. So it's time to go. So I give her an embrace, and she had the nerves to look up at me with these little pointy pink chapped lips, and wanted to put that on my pretty chocolate lips. So, I didn't even want her to put those lips on my neck. So, because I was going to reach in and turn my head, let her kiss me on the neck and the cheek, but they were so chapped and busted. I'm like, oh my God. But I do like the money she's sending. I do like the mail she's sending. So I got to keep this charade going. So I reached down and, I kind of, took my right arm, you know what I mean? And I put it on the right side of her face, and I pushed the face to the side, and I placed my lips on the neck to kiss her bye, And I felt a squirm and wiggle in my arms. I said, okay, well, that'll do it. So I don't know how that long that's going to last on these visits. I don't even know if I'm going to come back out on another visit. It depends on how bad the men ridicule me when I go in the back. And they talk about, man, Unique had this busted, mongoloid-looking Michelin woman out there on a visit with chapped lips drooling off on the mouth. Her feet didn't even touch the chair. This is how crazy it is. But this is what we got to subject ourselves to in prison. So youngins, don't go to prison so you ain't got to put up with this. Because you can't imagine how embarrassed I was. So now, I go back in the visit, and before I even get back to the unit, the people that left the visit early, they already talking that, because I'm getting all this mail, so they looking for a reason to ride me to tell me that I'm not all that. So they say, no wonder he getting all that mail. That nigga got a mongoloid Michelin woman with a barrel belly and her feet don't even touch the ground. And they laughing at me. So I go back there, you know what I mean? So you know me, they was giving out the little yellow slips then with the money orders. So I go out there and I take a stack of money orders and I slam them on the table and I said, yo, I do what I got to do to survive off the land. You know what I mean? You show me money order that adds up to more than what this girl sent me, and then you got something to talk about. Of course they couldn't. So that was that. So then now, I go back and I talk to her that night, and she telling me how much she enjoyed the visit, and I look so handsome, I'm in such good shape, and my complexion is this. And she's giving me all the praises in the world. And she's waiting on me to give her praise. But what do you say to an ugly, mongoloid, incest baby with a Michelin body to comfort her? So I just said, I really enjoyed myself too. I don't even know if I enjoyed myself because I was so embarrassed I couldn't even think. You know what I mean? So I don't even know if I can say I enjoyed myself, but I lied. Because that's what we do to get the bag. You know what I mean? When you're in prison. So I lied and told her, yeah, you look beautiful. I'm glad you came. Da 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 da. You know what I mean? It felt good holding you in. Da 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 da. And she like, oh, but I noticed everybody kissed their people goodbye, but you didn't kiss me. I said, I did kiss you. She said, no, you kissed me on the neck. I said, yeah, no disrespect, but your lips was chapped. Yeah, I'm raw like that. I said, your lips was chapped. They was ashy. Next time you come, get some lip gloss or put some Vaseline on it before you come. You know what I mean? So, she's like, yeah, well, they wouldn't let me put it in my bag. I said, what was that bag for? She said, no, that was my insulin. I said, insulin? I said, yeah, I didn't even know what insulin was other than people went up there every day at the sick call 3 times a day to go get this needle and stick it up in them. So I didn't know what it was, So I'm going to get back to that in a minute, about that insulin in that bag. So the next time she comes, she got the lip gloss on and she got a new outfit. She got her hair done, still looking busted, but she feeling cute. You know what I mean? So as soon as she come in, she runs up, she grabs me and she gets on the tippy toes, looks up at me and points her lips out and wanted me to kiss her lips. So I took the back of my hand and let her kiss the back of my hand. You know what I mean? And I know everybody's looking because they waiting to ride me when I go back. They, man, Unique out there, this busted chicky kissing on her and everything. Something wrong with this dude, you know what I mean? But she was paying like she weigh, as we say in the prison. So to keep getting the money orders, I put up with the crap, you know what I mean? So now, while we out there, she's normally drooling, while I'm talking. You know what I mean? And it wasn't from what I was saying. It's just when she gets relaxed like that, her mind relaxes and her body fluids start leaking out her mouth. So, of course, I had to tell her again, wipe your mouth. 10 times during the visit, I had to tell her, wipe your mouth. I wind up, getting up and going to the vending machine. I'm not even allowed to go to the vending machine, but I just got to walk straight to the vending machine, got a stack of napkins, brought it back, and I put them on her side, and I said, here, use this. You know what I mean? So I give her these, these napkins, and she's sitting there wiping them out. She's telling me how good I look, and she wanted me to tell her how good she looked, but I'm not that good of an actor. I can't do it, because every time I looked at her, I thought, this is the ugliest woman I ever seen in my life. And I'm out here with it, and everyone is sitting here looking at me. What am I going to do? I'm unique. I'm talking about, I had porno stars coming to see me. I had strippers coming to see me. I had college girls coming to see me. I had everybody coming to see me, and I'm talking about when I'm in different spots, but now they got me way out in Atwater in a part of the country that I don't know anyone. So the Penpal thing is all I had, and she was the only visit I had at the time, and I'm feeling stupid in the mother. Let me say that again. I'm feeling stupid in the mother. You know what I mean? But I give her the napkin, she wipes them out. So while I'm talking to her, I notice her eyes started like rolling in the back of her head, and she's kind of rocking back in the chair, her little feet not touching the ground, and she's leaning. So, I smack on the knee. What's up? Wake up. She said, oh, no, my sugar's low. I said, your what is low? She said, my sugar's low. I said, what do you mean your sugar's low? She said, oh, I got to get my insulin shot. Can you believe this girl went up there to the counter, they gave her this little bag. She come back and sit down at the table and takes out this needle in front of everybody. And she picks his shirt up to show these nasty rolls. And she jams this joint in her stomach. You know what I mean? And I'm looking, and I hate needles. So I'm like, ooh. And I turn my head. You know what I mean? And everybody's looking, and their mouth is open like, like, is she shooting dope? You know what I mean? This is what I'm thinking, they thinking. But people knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was because I've always been healthy and didn't hang with people that had it like that. I went to there, and I saw people get the needle and shoot it in them, never asked why, what it was, and none of that. So she shoots this thing in her. She takes it back to him, and he said, oh, I got to get something sweet. So she goes to the candy machine. She comes back with a Snicker, says she needed sugar. So she's eating a Snicker, and as she's eating it, like I said, how she be drooling, she got crap rolling all down the side of her mouth where you can see the chocolate dripping out with the saliva, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, my God, I got to get out of here. I got to go back to the unit. I'd rather be around a bunch of men, you understand what I'm saying, wearing their khakis than sitting in front of this ugly woman. But she's paying like she weighed. So I had to camp out. So now, while we sitting there, and she started feeling better, she wiped her mouth but didn't wipe it hard enough, so she had dried up chocolate in the corners of her mouth that looked like doo-doo. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, my God. So you know me, I'm straight up. I'm trying to make it look the best I can. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. So hate me if you want. You know what I mean? So I said, yo, you got shit on your mouth. You know what I mean? She said, huh? I said, wipe your mouth. So she wipes her mouth, but by now it done dried up. You know what I mean? So she had the nerves in front of me to show you how disgusting this was. So youngins, don't go to prison, so you ain't got to deal with this. She spit on a napkin. She literally and spit on the napkin and wiped the corners of her mouth. And I'm sitting there looking like Chris Tucker in Fridays, like, ew. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God. So now I'm sitting there, and she got these little pointy chapped lips, but today she had a little Vaseline on them, but by now after the insulin kicked in, sugar got low, they got dried, and they had thick crust on them, and I'm looking at her, and she's breathing hard out of my mouth, like a fish out of water. I'm like, God, what have you put me into? God, why did you do this to me? Y'all gonna be mad because I'm using God's name and y'all gonna say in vain, but I did pray to God and ask him, what did I do to deserve this? Now, I'm sitting here and it's time to leave again. So now, right before we leave, she asked me, are you gonna kiss me before we leave? I said, didn't you just have shit on your mouth? You know what I mean? Didn't you just spit on a napkin and wipe it on your mouth? She looked at me. And she said, and? I said, yo, no disrespect, I don't want that on me. You know what I mean? If I got crap in my mouth and I tried to kiss you, would you like that? She said, I'll kiss you anytime. I said, okay, well, that's you. I can't kiss you. We're not going to do that. I'm going to give you a hug. And next time you take your insulin before you come in, because I was really embarrassed you sticking that needle up in your guts like that, you know? So she looked at me, her eyes got all sad and she had tears in her eyes, but I'm so heartless, you know? I just looked at her and my player mode to continue to get the bag kicked in. And I put both arms around her, you know? And, you know, I grabbed her, I pulled her into me, and I told her it's going to be all right. You know what I mean? Go get some rest. Your sugar was low. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'm just saying, get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? Our visit is terminated. You know, we got 5 more minutes. So to prevent having to kiss her, what I tell her is, I said, look, you know how it be crowded when everybody trying to leave at once. They're going to keep us back there and, you know, the line long. So, you know, I'm going to go on back early so I can beat the line and you can beat the traffic coming out the parking lot. So she sit there looking at me all sad, talking about, but we got 5 more minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, bitches, you crazy? Don't you understand it's time to leave? You know, I mean, y'all ain't gonna like this video because I'm keeping it too raw. You know, then I'll tell you one about how I met a bad broad who, you know, maybe she looked at me like I was this Mongoloid Michelin ensign baby. You know, but you know, like I said, because I'm just keeping it 100. So she looking all sad. So I give her a hug. I say, look, I'm not feeling good anyway. I think that chocolate hurt my stomach. I think I ate too much. So I reached over and all I could think about was the crap on the side of her mouth. And I was like, oh, nah, man, no. I can't even kiss her on her neck goodbye right now. I'm so embarrassed. You know what I mean? And so disgusted by what I had to sit through. So we go back, you know, to the unit. I didn't kiss her. We get back to the joint. And when I called her to make sure she got home, the first thing she said is, I'm sorry about my insulin. I was really looking forward to a kiss. And I'm thinking to myself, incident or no incident, I'm not kissing your ass ever. You know what I mean? Just keep sending the check. You know, this is what I'm thinking. Just keep sending the money order. Just keep sending the yellow slip. But that kissing, we're going to stop all of that. You know? So now I'm trying to talk her into bringing the pack. You know? So I figure after 2 visits, it's time to, you know, hit on bringing the pack. So I'm saying, look, you over there in the black neighborhood, y'all got all that weed over there. Over here, weed sell for this and that. I like to smoke my weed so I can relax. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And she's like, oh, yeah, I can get some weed. Da, 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 da. She said, you know, I got you this weekend. She comes up this weekend. She's supposed to bring, you know, the weed, you know. So she comes in, she don't bring. I said, what happened? She said, I was scared. I said, you were scared? You know, and I'm thinking to myself, as ugly as you scared of something? You scared everybody that look at you. And you telling me you scared to bring a little weed in the institution? You know what I mean? And she said, no, but, you know, when I leave here, I'm going to stop off and I'm going to mail you out, you know, $1,500 so you can buy all the weed you want. So I'm like, ka-ching. I can deal with that. You know what I mean? So she sent me a little $1,500. So with the $1,500, now I got to use that money to meet another female that looked good enough to bring the weed, that I would be comfortable enough to kiss to get the weed, because this chick was so ugly. There's no way in hell I was going to kiss her to get the weed. So she's going to have to pass it off to me, and I was going to have to do what I had to do. But I'm not putting my lips on it to get no damn weed in nobody prison, because she was that busted and disgusted, you know, and hate me for keeping it 100, you know. Gunshots for those that hate me. You know what I mean? So that's where we at. But I got to make my gunshots a little louder. Got to make them a little louder. I had them turned down. So now we go back. I got the little $1,500. So I go back. I spend $500, buy some weed. You know, I had the white dudes making a white lightning. If y'all want to know about how I had the white dudes making a white lightning, I had the white lightning game on lock out there in Atwater, you know, DM me, you know, or put it in the comments. But anyway, so I go back to the joint. And I'm smoking this weed, and now I'm good and high, and I'm thinking, and the homie's like, man, I don't know how you do it. You know what I mean? I heard about that girl you had out there, and it was funny because some people were saying, nah, son, I can't believe she was that ugly. Y'all exaggerating. I said, yeah, all right, well, this is what we going to do. You know what I mean? I'm going to get a picture next time I go on a visit. So I go buy 2 picture tickets. So we go on a visit, and while we sitting there, and you know, when the cameraman come out, when you go out, you're supposed to give the tickets to the police. So I come out, I take my tickets up to the booth, and I sit down. And she said, "What was that?" I said, "No, I gave them, you know, a couple of tickets so we could take some pictures." She's like, "No." You know what I mean? She panicked, like, "No." You know what I mean? Like, if you know you that ugly that you don't want to take a picture, you know what I mean? Then why did you even come see me? You could have just kept sending the money and kept your ass home. You know what I mean? Come on. You know you're ugly. I know you ugly. The visitor hall know you ugly. You disrespected me sitting here being this ugly. And yeah, call me shallow, call me rude, call me what you want. I'm just telling you what our prison mentality is like. Nowadays, I wouldn't do that because it don't matter what the person look like because it's what's in their heart. But back then, it's what they was putting on my account, keeping it 100. So if y'all don't understand that, then you need to go to another channel because we had a gangster channel. We talk gangster shit and we putting it down gangster. Gunshots to the gangsters that understand what time it is. So she said, "No." You know, I mean, literally, she said, "No," and started shaking like she was getting ready to have a seizure because I said, "Take a picture." I'm like, "Come on, baby, you look beautiful. I just want a picture so we can remember this moment." But deep down inside, all it was to show the dudes that said, "Nah, she can't be that ugly." You know what I mean? Because dude was like, "Man, I don't care what a girl look like. She come see me. I'm going to be glad to go see her. I'll go out there and tongue kiss her down." I said, "My nigga, you not tongue kissing this Michelin baby." You know what I mean? Incest baby. And they're like, "Man, I'm telling you, dog, the way she writing you, sending you money, sending you pictures, man, I go out there and tongue kiss her down, make love to her in that vision hall. She'll think she make the greatest black man ever." And I'm like, "Hold on, my nigga." So I come back, I take the picture, and the pictures come back middle of the week. So all week, everybody kept saying, "You get the pictures come yet?" The pictures didn't come. So as soon as the pictures come, I get the pictures, I take the pictures, I show it to the homie. The nigga looked at the picture. The first thing he did was the Chris Tucker. "Ew." I said, "Yeah, but I thought you would have kissed her." You know what I mean? He said, "Yo, my nigga, I don't even know how you sat in front of her." I said, "I thought you do whatever you got to do to get the bag and tongue kissed her down, romance that made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world." He said, "Yo, my nigga, I've never seen a woman that ugly in my life. There's no way in hell I'm going to do that." You know what I mean? So we sitting there, and I'm like, "Yo, dog, you know, somebody got to take one for the team." He said, "Yeah, then why you ain't kiss her?" I said, "Man, I am taking one for the team. I'm taking the bag she sent to me. The kissing, nah, we're not going to do that." You know? So this is where we at. So, you know what? Because y'all probably feel that I'm rude anyway. It's been 30 minutes. So I'm going to just tap out, man. You know what I mean? Cash App, you know what I mean? Unique Mecca audio, make sure it says 2020. You know, I don't care what it is. $1, show some love. You know what I mean? If you enjoy the stories, enjoy the content, because you already know, like Jerry Lewis do a telethon every year. We do our telethon right here. Keep it 100 because the game is to be sold, not told. I know y'all enjoyed yourself, laughed your ass off. Some hated me, some cussed me out. Well, send me a cash app for cussing my black ass out. Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. An Instagram page and a YouTube, you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish there. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours. So we can give back to the youth them, cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the rules.